Hey, beautiful humans, welcome back to Inner Light. I'm Anya, and today we are flipping the whole legacy conversation on its head. Because, real talk, most of us treat legacy like it's a someday project. Like we'll start being brave, kind, aligned, or international after the next promotion, the next healing milestone, the next glow up. But what if legacy is not a grand finale? What if it's your Tuesday energy, your boundary, your apology, your courage to say this isn't working and pivot? My guest is Sabine Hutchison, CEO and co founder of SEAS, author of Beyond the Ladder, founder of the Ripple Network, and the host of the Be the Ripple podcast. Sabina has the grounded, no fluff way of talking about purpose, reinvention, sustainable success, and value driven leadership. The kind of clarity that doesn't just sound good, it actually changes how you move. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Sabina. It's such an honor to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for wanting to discuss this topic because I love it.
Yes, absolutely. And Sabina, when you hear the word legacy, what do you think people get wrong about it? And what's the reframe you wish everyone would adopt?
Mm, yeah. Well, I'm not sure if everyone thinks this way, but I think for me, I've gone through quite a bit of an evolution with what I think legacy is about. And a big shift came for me actually when I was writing my book because I put a whole chapter in just about legacy because I think that it's so important that we think about it. It's legacy for me is not necessarily your resume or a list of all your achievements. And legacy for me doesn't start when your career slows down. It's actually around the choices that you make that impact others. And I think oftentimes we also, this may sound a bit morbid, but we can think about legacy equals a eulogy, or it comes at the end of your career or the speech that's given after you've left an organization, but it actually should be hopefully woven into what you do every day.
Yes, 100%. And if someone wants to start living their legacy today, what's the smallest proof move they can make in the next 24 hours?
Um, the smallest thing that they could do, I believe one thing that they could do is to be present and to be present, for instance, when someone calls them, to be present when they engage with individuals, to focus that on people, because legacy for me is a sense of how you make people feel. Um, and I feel that being present and in the moment with individuals is a starting point to that. So that could be a first step.
Yeah, right. And I love that because it makes legacy less intimidating and more operational. Like, we are not waiting for a TED Talk moment. We are building trust with others and ourselves in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about real time. And I think, especially in the world that we live in today, and we have so much AI and we have so much happening around us, and we're been being bombarded with information. I believe that being present piece it can be challenging because you sit at your desk. Most people are virtual now. You're being hit with social media content. You're getting emails coming in. You're getting phone calls coming in, and that being present can actually it can really impact the individuals that you're dealing with. So that for me is the start. It's the first ripple. I love ripples. And I believe that that can be the first drop in the ripple that we create is when we're really focused on the individuals that we're speaking to.
Yes, that's amazing. And you wrote Beyond the Ladder. What's the most common success trap you see people chasing that quietly disconnects them from their inner alignment?
I think one of the things that I find very valuable in our career development and what can sometimes throw us off is not being in tune with our values, and the steps that we make in our career because sometimes we can think about tasks, we can think about activities, keep pushing, pushing, pushing. And sometimes the values and really our core of who we are can get pushed aside. And I believe that is such a key piece of also your legacy as well. Legacy is about being remembered by individuals in the sense, the feeling that you give to them. And I believe if we get really stuck in and live according and work according to the values that we have, that will have a huge impact on that.
Yes, for sure. And what's one question people can use as a quick filter when an opportunity looks shiny but feels off?
Hmm. Well, I don't know if it's one question, but actually it's about some reflection. It was interesting today. I volunteer for the Healthcare Business Women's Association, and as part of that association, they run mentoring programs. And this year, a colleague of mine, Suzanne Brockman, and I had a group of individuals where had a mentoring session. And one of the things that came up and we spoke a lot about and that really resonated with them is about reflection time. And I think that that is so crucial also that we build that time to reflect and to ask ourselves different questions. So we can ask about is what I'm doing today, does it actually live? Or do my values live in the activities that I'm doing? Or how do I see my legacy showing up in what I'm doing today? That's even a reflection that you can have at the end of your day. Do my daily behaviors actually reflect the values that I live and the legacy that I want to live? So it all comes back to spending that time and taking that time to do reflections and to not just do them every or spontaneously. Spontaneously, you can do them as well, but it's more about building that into the way that you work. That you build that reflection time either at the end of your day, maybe it's the end of the week if you feel that every day is too much. But that can also, I feel, have a significant impact on decisions that we make and to make sure that our values are built into what we're doing every day.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's such a clean framework. It's basically a value check before we go all in and then wonder why we feel empty on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I believe a really significant part is to build how you trust your intuition, because sometimes, especially in career, we can separate intuition outside of our daily career activities. But I believe that it's very important to build that in also to this reflection time and to listen to yourself and to listen to your body. What's happening in your shoulders? What does your stomach say? I think everyone kind of has this there's a reaction that we have in certain situations. Some people I've heard talk about getting in like an upset stomach or their breathing increases, or those are also always also signs to help you and guide you. And oftentimes we can push those aside, but it's becoming more in tune with them and listening to them and not try to push them away. I think I worked with a coach once and we talked about getting rid of that feeling to always feel confident. And I don't believe that we'll never be 100% confident all of the day. So these feelings will arise, but it's actually what do we do with them? Instead of trying to push them away, welcome them and then learn how to deal with them and see, are they telling me something that can help with the decision I'm making?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. And a lot of listeners are in a change season, career shifts, identity shifts, healing shifts. How do we reinvent ourselves without spiraling or starting from zero every time?
Mm. Yeah, to not start from 0 every time. Sometimes we do. It's interesting. I just wrote a post also about reinvention, and it was interesting. One of the comments was, about oftentimes some of the reinventions that feel uncomfortable for us, we kind of push those aside and we don't necessarily share those because maybe we feel that maybe it's embarrassing or it's something that we shouldn't be sharing. However, those are the ones that actually can be the most relevant for us, those moments where we've taken some really bold steps and maybe it didn't work out or maybe it did. But to actually share those stories around share those stories about what was a reinvention for us and talk about them and celebrate those very unusual situations we have instead of also trying to push them aside. Because I also think these reinventions and the stumbles that we take as part of them can help others, maybe sidestep one of the challenges or to become more, um, in tune with something that could happen. So that's yeah, I think we need to also just welcome the reinvention and not necessarily and build on it and not necessarily think we do have to start new every time. We bring all of these wonderful and also sometimes challenging experiences with us, and, we should read them in and not try to cover them up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, totally. And what does sustainable reinvention look like in practice? Like weekly rhythms, boundaries, decisions, that unsafely stuff.
Yeah, that's so funny. You're bringing up things that I've had in conversations today. It's like you were a fly on the wall because we also talked about boundaries and how important boundaries are. Um, And what my colleague actually mentioned, boundaries aren't selfish. They're actually part of legacy building as well. That it's important to set those boundaries, that it's okay to say no to situations, to explain why, to suggest others as you're setting a boundary for yourself. Because oftentimes, if we get too overzealous and try to do too much, we can actually it could be more detrimental to us and other programs that we're in. So I really feel that it's normal and, uh, that it's okay to say no, that is really important to set boundaries for yourself or the times that you work or whatever it is, but to maybe get away from this idea that boundaries are selfish because they're really not selfish. They're very important to our sustainability and ability to be productive, happy people in our careers. So boundary not selfish. That's the key.
I absolutely agree. And yes to the unsexy stuff because glow ups are cute, but nervous system stability is elite. And if the change costs you your peace, it's not a flex.
No. Yeah, that's so true. It isn't a flex. Totally agree with that. Yeah.
And you build the ripple network and you talk about meaningful impact. How do we
Mhm.
create choices that actually matter, not just look good online or in a resume?
Mm. Yeah, how do we build that impact? It's sometimes we don't see it for a long time. There have been people there. I created a Ripple Talk or a TED Talk about this topic about someone during my college years that had an impact on me that ultimately that situation led me to write my Ripple Talk, which ultimately led me to create the Ripple Network because I wanted to share stories about, or I wanted to give women the opportunity to share stories, impactful stories. So sometimes it can take 30 years for that to become transparent and clear. And yeah, and I think that that's so fascinating about the impact that we make, but also to not underestimate. I think sometimes we categorize impact, right? We say, oh, we had the impact if we look at some of the scientific research that's been done, Marie Curie obviously had a major impact on, on science and the world that we live in today. But you can also have an impact on someone that you speak to and that you're focused on and you pay attention to that feels small to you, but for them, it can be crucial in a decision that they're about to make or how they feel about themselves or the confidence that they have or a decision that they're going to make around their career. So I think it's important to not categorize or rate impact to almost to score it, if that makes sense. So one impact is not more important than another. And I think oftentimes we think about impact also a bit grandiose, that it has to be this huge, huge sense or huge discovery that we make. But we can, there's such beautiful small impacts that we have on people and to not underestimate those.
Yes, 100%. So, what are two or three signs someone is operating from ego driven impact versus value driven impact?
Mm. That they continuously refer back to themselves when they're doing something or that their intent to try to look at intent, I think maybe is an important way to look at that. You know, why are they doing this? Is it solely we obviously we're always watching for out for ourselves in life. I mean, that's natural. We have to take care of ourselves. But to be ego driven is to only look at the benefit for yourself and not for the others. To ultimately to constantly have that in the forefront, and you can sense that with individuals because they constantly come back to the I or the me. This will benefit me, and to not have the others in the forefront. Yeah, I think that
Yes.
that.
And that's such a gentle call out, but we need it because sometimes we are not building legacy, we are building optics. And our spirit can tell the difference.
Our spirit can totally tell the difference. And that goes back to what I was saying before is the sense of intuition. Because if we listen to ourselves, because we feel it, right? We so often we know we're like, ooh, something's not right about that. But we can push that aside because we think our brain starts to turn. We think, oh no, we have to go in this direction or we have to do this. But that's again sitting and getting in touch with that intuition and spending the reflection time so you're more in tune with that and you feel it and you trust it. And I think that that's the important thing is to trust that sense that you have. And you're right, you feel it. So true.
Yes. And you speak on women's health and leadership. Where do you see high achieving people ignoring the body signals in the name of ambition? And what does it take to come back to integrity?
Mm. I think oftentimes, I believe that the world is changing around that topic right now and about pushing our well-being aside. And I see it if we could take if we take menopause as an example, in the past, we've kind of just pushed through it. And because we thought we had to, because we didn't feel comfortable talking about it openly in the workplace or with our employer or even with our friends sometimes. I mean, it was a topic that is just not in the forefront and not discussed. And I believe that that is something that's changing and is very valuable in the workforce and being true to ourselves around that. And, so I don't know if that's getting back to the integrity piece, but if you look at organizations, I think that that's something that they could look at. Also, if you look at the moral and the integrity side of things, is that they build an environment or a culture where we can talk about women's health issues and to make it to start to take away the taboos that are associated with it. So I believe I know that that doesn't completely answer your question, but I believe that that's a topic that the more we talk, the more we discuss, the more we normalize those conversations, then maybe we won't have to push through those challenges that we're facing.
Yes, absolutely. And if someone's body is basically sending HR emails like this is not sustainable, what's the first intervention you recommend?
The first piece is really to start talking, is to show some vulnerability and to raise it and to not cover it up with a misleading so not even a fact, but to not be misleading about what's happening. And I believe the more that we open up and that we talk about challenges that we're facing, um, that is the first step to make change. I mean, I have examples where years ago, because I struggled with infertility and to have children and had miscarriages, and I did not raise those topics in my work environment, and it would have made life, I think, different for me. I think it would have made me not have to push through things if my employer potentially knew about this topic and that it would have also brought me to work a bit more in a better place because I wouldn't have had to feel like I always had to put on the positive face when I was struggling. So talking about it, yeah, I think that would be the first thing that I would try to do, although it can feel a bit intimidating and uncomfortable.
Yes, that line hits because the body keeps receipts, and the most powerful leaders who might be listening before it turns into burnout, anxiety, or chronic stress.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And how can listeners reach out to you?
You can find me on LinkedIn under Sabine Hutchison or my website, sabinehutchison.com. That's the best way to find me.
Amazing, that's perfect. And listeners, before you bounce, here is your mini challenge for the next 48 hours. Pick one legacy action and do it on purpose. Send the apology you keep postponing. Set one boundary you have been negotiating with yourself about. Make one decision your future self will thank you for. Or show up with full presence in a moment you will usually rush through. Then ask yourself tonight, did I live like the person I say I'm becoming? No shame, just data. And if this episode sparks something in you, share it with one friend who is in the reinvention era and drop a review if inner light has become part of your growth journey. It genuinely helps more people find this space. Alright, my loves, that's it for today's episode of Inner Light with me, Anya, and the incredible Sabine Hutchison. Remember, legacy is not a someday speech, it's how you show up when nobody's clapping. Stay gentle with you, stay honest with yourself, and keep choosing the next aligned step. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, protect your peace and keep your light on.
Well, and also, I have something, and may I read something to you? And maybe it's interesting. You can keep recording if you want to cut it in or out. Um, it's something that I've written, and I think that it fits so perfectly to this. Um, so it starts with, um, as I close the book, I'm reminded of a powerful truth. Legacies are not built in isolation. They are created through collaboration, connection, and the shared determination to improve things, whether by breaking barriers, lifting others, or daring to envision a better future together. The legacy you're building is part of a much larger narrative. It's a story of women breaking barriers, supporting each other, and making history one step at a time. And each of us contributes to this greater narrative in unique ways. So, as you reflect on your journey, consider how your choices and your actions add to the collective story of resilience and progress. Let your story be one of resilience, generosity, and vision. Let it be one where you live authentically and act courageously, lead purposely. Your journey and your leadership and your legacy have the power to inspire, uplift, and transform far beyond your immediate reach. This is not the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter, not just for you, but for the countless lives that you will influence. So as you move forward, know that you are part of a continuum of women who have paved the way and that your actions will pave new paths for others. So let your legacy matter. Let it last and let it lift us all higher. Remember, this is your story to write, your unique, extraordinary contribution to a shared legacy that inspires generations to come.
That is beautifully written. That's amazing. Guys, thank you so much.